You're listening to Cattywampus.
One,
2,
3, 4.
Anyway, I'm gonna
it's the
funny.
Count. We must stop him. We must stop the Count.
Yeah, why? Do you know why 70 million Americans are protesting Sesame Street's The Count? I've not been following.
I
the
thought
news
it was
too closely.
Dooku.
Oh, they were protesting Christopher Lee. Did they know that Christopher Lee's been dead for a while?
I don't think facts matter to most of them.
That's fair. Well, they're probably protesting because he's dead, but they think he voted. Despite being dead and not an American citizen.
The notable handicap of being dead.
Funny how that works.
Politics. So, Ernest, we've seen him
Why
go
do
to
we keep
camp.
doing this?
We've seen him go to camp. We've seen him go to jail. He did some other stuff. He saved Christmas, and then he ruined Halloween.
Did he? I thought he saved Halloween.
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I think he ruined it because he's the one who summoned the troll, right?
He did a little both.
So now we're going to see him ride again for the last time in cinemas.
Right again.
This is the last time I'm ever watching an Ernest movie.
Oh, are you calling it? You're out? We can't do the last episode?
Out.
I thought
I don't understand how this somehow was worse than any of the previous.
This movie is a piece
Ruined
of shit.
movies for me.
I've never been so uninterested in a movie.
I enjoyed this a little more than the last one, I gotta say.
I was
I don't
very
know how.
bored.
I mean, there was some humor in it that I appreciated. There were a
It's-
couple of jokes that I did appreciate.
Same.
It seemed a little more adult than the other ones.
Yeah, this is your thinking man's
Did it?
Ernest.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did we watch the same movie? Just to be clear, Ernest wrote again in this movie, right? And
Yeah, he
that
wrote a
writing
canon
again, he
for
wrote
the
a
majority of the
canon.
runtime.
I was really hoping that this was going to be like Ernest and a biker gang, but
Nope.
No.
Was it?
it was Ernest and Elvis Professor on a fucking cannon for
Yeah,
way
his
too long.
transformation
It was,
into Elvis was interesting.
It was like a third of the movie, right?
Everyone gets dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah.
You get a personality, and you get a personality.
Speaking
So-
of dissociative identity disorder, man, Ernest looks like he's cracking in this movie.
I was
So-
shocked the professor wasn't revealed to be a Tyler Durden-esque alter ego of Ernest.
That would have been a far better ending.
I guess let's talk a little bit about what the basic premise of this. So the basic premise of Ernest Rides Again is that Ernest is once again a janitor, and he is now working at a local college, and he is kind of friends with a professor there, Dr. Matt Mellon, who has some avant-garde ideas about aspects of the Revolutionary War that are understandably put his colleagues in disbelief. And he basically...
Because they don't make any sense.
So he basically believes, and I'll be honest, I am kind of inferring here, because if the movie explained this clearly, I didn't really catch it. He believes that there was a secret battalion in the Revolutionary War who had a cannon, and what they did with this cannon is they hid the crown jewels of England, because apparently King George sent the crown jewels of England to the Americas to prove that they were still, or to like remind them they were still under the monarchy. These were stolen and put in a cannon, and then the cannon was lost to time, and records of this, all of this event from both the British and the American sides were lost to time.
The story is just as bad as the movie.
So that is the premise. This Dr. Mellon is on this quest. Ernest is supporting his quest. Early on, the board of trustees, the board of directors of this whatever they are, the board of this college is like,
I assume it's DeVry University.
yes, Trump University, are like Dr. Mellon, you're fucking crazy. Just teach your classes out of the history book, please, dear God. And one of the board members, Dr. Glencliffe, is like, actually, I kind of believe you. I think you are a smart guy. And you let me know if you need any assistance in finding this. Now, actually, Dr. Glencliffe has his own ulterior motives for getting this, because he believes the crown jewels are in this cane as well. And so what we end up with is a kind of riff on the good, the bad, and the ugly, where we're all kind of hunting for this lost treasure. And that's sort of the setup for the movie. Now, before we get into the movie's like finer details proper, did anyone else have the movie start with a logo called RLS that was like THX?
I thought that was a joke.
Yep.
Okay, was it a joke or is that an actual competitor?
It is. I believe it was a joke, but you know what? In a movie so devoid of good ones, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then following that, did anyone get a weird 10-minute Mr. Bill sketch?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
So what?
So did I.
I watched it. It was strange for him to be on the front of a children's film. Mr. Bill, for anyone who doesn't know, was a claymation Saturday Night Live sketch from the early 70s. There was a lot of references to Reagan's Star Wars, but then a lot of weird references about the oil trade. And then the joke about how the Senate just runs over the president. And since I'm a millennial, where 9/11 hit early in my life, I don't know what that would be like. It was very strange. It started the film. And then we then went to a very strange credit sequence about Ernest writing again.
Or existing throughout history.
It did seem like that.
Some undying trickster god, which I'm starting to assume that's what Ernest
He's like
really
Hawkman, where I think he's dying, but he doesn't remember his lives, but he's destined to find, I assume, Vern. So early on, Ernest looks like he's going to like run an assault on a construction site. But it turns out he's trying to do his own archaeology. He destroys the construction site, finds an artifact. Although, interestingly, he references himself as Indiana Jones and starts joking about how he's looking for a crystal skull. And this is 1993. So...
That's true. That is a little weird.
Ah.
That is odd that he made mention of
Although
that.
he referred to it as Cleopatra's crystal skull, and I was like, that's an interesting wrinkle to that mythology.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, you know what? It was also like a boot remover or something, or some old piece of machinery that he found that he assumed was a skull. So
It was that.
I don't know. He's not a very reliable
I believe
narrator.
he also activated a sander and a nail gun. Although, which led to an interesting joke where the implication is that the inside of his cap is actually a hard hat.
I thought the implication was that his skull was just so thick, or again that he's an undying trickster.
That
It
makes
was
more
foreshadowing for.
Yeah, I was gonna say, given the surgery that happens later.
It was attempted live lobotomy.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was hoping to find.
He gets a relic to the doctor. He also, right before that, looks at the camera really quickly between accents, but then doesn't address us. It's kind of weird. This movie has that like handheld shot a lot, and I'm not sure if he's meant to see us or not. He accidentally used that artifact, which he believes to be a boomerang, but appears to be some kind of crest. And he accidentally uses it to deface an ancient tome that the professor has, which I've never seen someone use one artifact to deface another artifact and destroy two pieces of two different cultures at the same time. That was fascinating. And then the doctor uses some acid to get away the dirt and rust, to read that it's like the cavalry that he's looking for. And then, am I right here that Ernest ate acid in the background?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he
That and
ate
steel
a
wool.
sandwich. Yeah, made with steel wool, and then downed it with, I assume it was some some hydrochloric acid, because he was using it to remove rust.
Yeah.
Realistically, but like I don't know.
Yes,
it just
Brian,
looked like he had
continue your
peroxide.
sentence. Realistically,
Yeah, it looked-
what would happen?
It looked like he just had fucking peroxide in his mouth. I don't know.
Realistically, what happened in the film?
Ernest
don't know.
died.
I checked
repeatedly,
out pretty quick.
realistically.
It's okay. Ernest knows
But
that
then
it's
again,
not
by
natural.
Ernest, yeah,
He made.
by Ernest's own admission, he's basically a cartoon character.
I don't like the very beginning. We kind of skipped right past this when he's being attacked by the saw and the nail gun.
Yes.
I don't understand it. I don't know why this bothered me so bad, but the saw was unplugged very clearly, and that unplugged cable was just like flopping around. I'm like, why not just either remove it or have a long cable?
Well, at one point, it actually turns a corner, and you can see the blades just not even spinning.
So
Yeah,
Brian,
I don't
how
know.
quickly did you run to the IMDb goof section to update it?
Instantly. No, I don't give a shit about this movie, so not at all.
You taking over CinemaSins just for this?
I don't want to do anything with this movie ever again.
So we'll get to it later, but it sounds like this was Brian's least favorite Ernest film, which is fascinating. Okay, what happens next? So he destroys some more property. Oh wait, does Dr. Morgan go to see Dr. Glencliff? He's like, I have evidence. Is that what's next?
So yeah, he goes to try to take it, and that's when he manages to destroy a computer by touching a keyboard.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
He drops something and then the computer explodes.
Yes.
He's still electrocuted or is an electric god from
I thought he
going
dropped
to
the
jail.
boomerang on the keyboard, and the keyboard for some reason caused the whole computer to explode.
Yep, that's what
That's
happened.
what happens
Okay.
when you short out the numpad.
That's why they removed it from so many computers. It was too dangerous.
Yes.
Yep.
And then, oh, that's right, because Dr. Glencliff has that weirdest shit office full of human remains and artifacts, which is one of those things where it's like, Dr. Glencliff, the villain of the film, understanding that history books may be incorrect, does kind of make him not a villain until you see this office with literal mummies in it and tombs in it. And then Ernest desecrates one of them. And then Dr. Mellon just wants the treasure. So I don't really know who to root for. And this is when I kind of hit on the good, the bad, and the ugly metaphor for this film. Where I was like, oh, I guess I just don't need to like anyone. And it's just the drama of the chase.
By the end of the movie, I'm pretty sure I was rooting for the world's shittiest Abbott and Costello impersonators.
Right, the two door-to-door salesmen who I guess replace our supporting characters. And this time, it is a full tilt recast of both of them.
I really wish it was the other guys because I hated them.
They kind of reminded me of like if Max Headroom and the agents from the Matrix had a child, but the way they had a child is if Max Headroom and the Matrix agents got into the pod from Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's how I came down on it.
Also, were we supposed to like the wife or not like
Unclear.
the wife? I was confused by that.
At first I thought she was a villain.
I mean, she kind of is, but then she's not.
But
I
then
don't know.
she's not.
She just wants the money, but then she doesn't because she's got Elvis. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what doesn't make any sense. Like, I assumed that at some point in this film he was going to gain confidence and then just be like, fuck you, I'm marrying Ernest.
Instead he gained confidence and went, fuck you, period.
Yeah, I now have the confidence to kiss my wife, which is strange.
I think it's because this movie doesn't have the budget or the cast or the runtime to handle this, but I think they're kind of trying to do something similar to It's a Mad World. There's 4 mads, I can never say it right. In which it was a huge ensemble cast all after a treasure with different subplots, different comedic beats, people betraying and allying with people, across the different subplots. And they kind of shoot for
Right.
that in this movie and don't quite achieve that.
I'm assuming that movie's far better.
I don't know. I actually don't think it's a particularly good movie. It's like 3.5 hours long, and most of the jokes are, can you believe we got all these celebrities to do it?
Yeah, all right. So, better movie.
I think I'd rather watch this movie twice than watch the 3-hour runtime if it's a mad world.
Yeah, I was still really bothered by how long this movie was.
Well, wasn't that long given that
it wasn't.
given that 10
It
minutes
felt like a fucking
given that
eternity.
10 minutes of the runtime was a Mr. Bill sketch, and then the credits were shockingly long, and it ended
Where
with
did
a
you
trailer.
guys?
YouTube.
Where did you guys end up watching this?
YouTube.
YouTube.
So on YouTube, it was like 480p, and I couldn't stand it.
It was
so I
480p,
switched to Crackle, I think.
Ew.
And
That's even worse.
No, Crackle had it in like 1080p or something, and it looked fine and it sounded fine. But then there was fucking commercials every 10 minutes, and the commercials were probably 15 minutes long. So it took me probably 3 hours to watch this fucking.
That's not
turd.
the movie's fault. The movie didn't.
I mean, it doesn't sound like
Yeah.
you had the same experience as us, and it sounds like it's kind of your fault. 480p,
Probably.
that's as good as a home cassette tape, if not better.
Yeah, I watched the film. It was.
480p is what I watched.
I watched
again.
it as it was intended in 480p.
Yeah, exactly.
God
As
intended.
the filmmakers intended it.
Like any movie that's free on YouTube, like if you go to the YouTube page, like it's under YouTube movies, the same section of YouTube where you can buy and rent movies. Which who
But
does
it's free.
that?
No, I get it.
On
It
YouTube?
just it looked like shit, and I hate I couldn't stand watching it. After about
that
5
was
minutes, I
not
had to
the
switch.
streaming service's fault. The movie just genuinely looks like shit.
I know that
Oh,
you
no, it
watched it
looks-
at 1080, but like, were you expecting a restored from film type of deal?
Yeah, how was the Blu-ray master of Ernest Rides Again, Brian?
It looks immensely
I assume
better.
it was Criterion.
Yeah, did the Kino Group restore it? Did the Giannis Films put in a 4K restoration
Did
for
they?
Ernest Rides Again?
I mean, I'm curious. I don't think they did.
It looked way better.
Gorgeous. 5 out of
I
5. Would recommend.
I don't see anything that says they've done that, man. It must have just been in your head. Like, I don't buy it.
Yeah, but Brian, Crackle's been dead for 50 years.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I don't even know if this was mastered for DVD. It was mastered for VHS, and that's all I can find on it.
But I'm glad the 1080p version really blew your socks off there. All you had to do was watch 2 hours of commercials.
Yep. Totally not worth it.
So then we're introduced to the professor's wife, who becomes a pretty major character in the film. She bought a new car, to which the professor was like, I'm a university professor. We don't have that kind of money. And she's like, yeah, you're a distinguished university professor. So she doesn't know how that works, which is weird. Then then we cut to London, where we meet some MI6 agents who are like, oh no, the crown jewels are going to be found. We got to keep this shit under wraps. Get on the next plane. I don't remember what happens after that.
Don't they go looking for the cannon?
Yeah, they go looking for the
Yes.
cannon or any signs of it. They find the cannonball, which is huge, and
Right,
how
they
the hell did
assault-
Ernest lift that thing up?
They assault
Also-
these construction workers again, don't they?
Yeah, they try to run away. Ernest rolls the giant cannonball like a bowling ball, and it makes a nice little bowling ball hitting the pins sound when it hits the frame. But those
Right.
poor workers worked all day on putting back up after Ernest knocked them all down yesterday, and now the whole house just falls over again. And I think the real takeaway here is, if you're on a construction site and you're putting up the frame, maybe, I don't know, before you go to lunch, leave somebody there. Or
How about one person goes and gets lunch? Especially after the first time it happened.
I mean, it's not like they were eating out. Literally, they all went.
They
to
brought
grab
it
the
back
food,
because I'm
and
pretty
then
sure
they brought
Ernest
it
stole
back.
one of the sandwiches later.
Did he?
Yes, because you cut to him in the woods eating a big hoagie. I'm like, where'd he get that?
Well, you
That is
don't
a good
keep a hoagie in your back
I
pocket?
wish. That'd be
Oh, it must be
so
another
many
one
times
with
I'd be
the-
happier in life if I had. Ugh, I tell
Maybe
you.
he made a spare steel wool sandwich when he was helping the
That's
professor.
true. Also, he refers to the construction workers as the Makita Warriors, and it made me wonder how much Makita paid to be in this film, or conversely, and more likely, how much legal effort they put forth to stop being in the film. Makita's a construction company, for anyone who doesn't know.
Right.
Ernest, let's see, he did a bunch of questionable accents. Then he destroyed the car, the new car, with the cannon, not by firing the cannon, but just by pushing the cannon, which is classic Ernest. Because any idiot can destroy the car by firing it. And then he immediately suggests selling the crown jewels, which our professor seems pretty amiable to.
I mean, what else are you gonna do with
Who
them?
could you even sell them to, other than England?
Yeah. Black market?
You don't want to.
England's adversaries.
You don't want a crown?
No, I'm an American,
I mean,
Brian.
I want to be the king of England. It seems to be a pretty easy job considering King George was dumb enough to fucking just send them over as a way to intimidate us.
Also, did I miss this? Why are the crown jewels in a cannon? Like, why did we, as a cavalry, a revolutionary cavalry, put them in a cannon? Like, did I miss an
I don't
explanation?
think we did. I think this movie's just stupid.
You just don't appreciate the brilliant strategic mind of George Washington.
I mean, that's
We
probably
gotta-
true.
we gotta
Oh my
hide these
God,
jewels
I don't.
somewhere.
Yeah, I got nothing after
We
that.
gotta hide them somewhere. We'll shove them in, our largest cannon or something.
Yeah, the one thing that's going to attract the most attention. Nobody will ever look at
I mean, this
that.
cannon is indestructible. It's survived for several hundred years and still has working axles and a tow hitch even. I mean, you can tow this cannon around on a modern truck. Like, this is the best cannon ever. It's the best place you could possibly hide it, Jim.
Not only are they working
Yeah, I never
axles,
even
Corey,
thought about that.
but this seems to be the first real example of a perpetual motion machine. This thing does not stop.
The lossless friction
it
axles.
doesn't matter if it's uphill, downhill, wherever it wants to go.
Pretty
It
great.
right.
It just
What
goes.
you don't understand is he was at the top of the United States, and they just kept rolling down to the bottom of the U.S.
What
Oh,
they don't
no, they
tell
were
you
going
is
to
that he's
Florida the
in
whole time?
Yeah, he's in the Appalachians. and he's pointed south towards Florida.
But see, there's that one part where he just kind of rolls down for a while. It stops, and he's like, all right, cool, we're good. And then it rolls back
Yes,
uphill.
it was great. That was a joke that kind of got me. Like,
I was like, what the fuck?
I'll be honest, that kind of got me. Where he was like, oh, good, I'm stopped. And it just goes back the way it came.
Yeah. I was like, well, that's not how physics works at all.
So we're getting ahead of it a little bit. So basically, Glenncliff shows up and he's like, oh good, you found the cannon, take them hostage, which is a little weird because Glenncliff already basically told Mellon he was going to help Mellon find the cannon. So I don't know why he's got to give away the game right now. Why can't he just be like, oh my god, Mellon, you found the cannon, great news, let's take it back to my respectable museum? Why would Mellon
Poor
say
writing.
no?
Well, I mean, Ernest was stuck in the cannon.
I'll help your friend.
But I don't
out.
know why the first thing his mind went to was, cool, he's stuck in the cannon. Cool, I'll just chop his body up and get it out that way.
It did seem
Because
weird.
he's evil.
That's
It's also
true.
weird. Why would chopping him up get him out? Because if you can't chop past the point he was stuck, how would it get him out?
Right?
They had a really large immersion blender.
You just gotta try some.
Quick, get the immersion blender of life.
I don't know. I mean, like this whole movie, especially with Glenncliff, I was really waiting for Air Bud to come save the day.
There's nothing in a rule that says a dog can't be the king of England.
I was
That's
waiting for
true.
anything to save the day. Where's the dog from the other movies?
Oh, Hole Punch? No, that's not his name. Why would that be his name?
Hole. It's a great name for a dog. Hey, what's your dog's name? Hole Punch.
That's not-
cool. This is my cat. 3-ring binder.
Oh,
Have you met my mouse,
It
Trapper
wasn't-
Keeper?
I was like, it's not Slingshot. What the fuck is
That's
his
so
name?
close though. Pork Chop? No.
Rimshot.
Rimshot.
No,
Rimshot's his name.
Rimshot.
That's it.
I mean, I don't think Rimshot's much of a dog name either, but I guess, yeah.
I mean, it
Airbud,
definitely
Rimshot,
makes more
sure.
sense for a comedic dog than Hole Punch.
I mean, I'd watch fucking Wishbone and Hole Punch hang out.
This did kind of feel like a really long Wishbone
It
episode.
did, without
I
Wishbone.
would rather watch Wishbone.
Yeah.
And then the wife teams up with the door-to-door salesman, who turn out to be like, oh, we have guns and ammo.
Hey, we can sell guns and ammo. Wait,
We're
we
also
can...
It
arms
is
dealers.
small town America.
But they can't hit a single thing.
Yeah, Ernest escapes from the cannon. They run him over for a car. That doesn't work. He's chased by a goon. He hides behind some laundry and becomes our favorite character, the old woman with the neck brace.
Does that character officially have a
To
name?
be honest, it is kind of the best character.
I
he has.
believe that character has a name, and I don't recall it, and I don't really care.
I'm just gonna call her Ernest.
She's probably Aunt Ernest or something. I don't know.
Auntie Ernest.
The Confederate flag makes an appearance again, and again, it's displayed by a villain, the evil tow truck driver.
Well, at least they knew what they were doing when it came to that.
For real. 2 in a row, or 2 for 2 of Confederate flag appearances being bad in the Ernest films. So Ernest Indiana Jones onto the tow truck in a delightful action sequence that which has one of the jokes I did laugh at, which is when you cut to Dr. Glenncliff behind them, and he sees Ernest on the tow truck. He goes, "How did he catch up to us?"
Yeah,
And then a moment that didn't really make me laugh, but I kind of was charmed by, which is they're on the back of the tow truck, which now has no driver. The professor and Ernest. Ernest is gonna unhitch the cannon. And Mellon just goes, "But the truck's out of control." And Ernest looks back and goes, "Welcome to my world." And I'm like, Ernest seems like he's finally learned a few things from his past adventures. And has finally come to play. He doesn't seem so hapless this time around.
I mean, he seems hapless, but it's almost like he's got his shit together.
He's like, "This isn't my first rodeo. Get on this cannon." Which then this is when the cannon now detaches, which begins a sequence that makes the Matrix Reloaded highway sequence seem brief in comparison, in which Ernest is going to ride this cannon through several set pieces. And I'm pretty sure that if you cut the Mr. Bill sketch and the credits, you will find that 50% of the actual runtime of this film is probably Ernest riding this cannon in the center.
Sounds about right.
That feels about right.
We cut to a mime. No one likes him at this birthday party, but he's the one who can see the cannon, and the mime can't warn anybody because he can't talk. And I smiled to myself and went, "That's kind of a good joke."
Yeah, but they didn't really. There was no payoff to it.
It would have worked if the
Yeah,
mime
no-
had been run over, and you could have cut to him you could have cut to him like, "Oh, he's okay," but the mime needed to get run over. I'll take everyone's silence to be agreement.
Yeah, I mean, what's
mean-
there to say? When you're right, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's call up John M. Cherry from the future and tell him, or whatever is John R. Cherry? John R. Cherry, sorry, the third.
John R. Cherry the Third.
Fake name, fake
And
name.
the long
the
line,
fake.
yeah, and a long line of the distinguished cherries.
So the canon goes on and on and on. What, he runs into some, like a fisherman and his wife who are in an RV?
Yeah, they're like traveling the country or something in an RV.
Yeah, they hit the RV dead on. The wife sprays him in the face with, I think, a fire extinguisher, and then
That sounds right.
tells her husband to reel him in because Ernest is the fish. And so Ernest gets fish hooked in his face, which is a little upsetting to watch.
Yeah, it's like that's actually one of my like deepest fears
Yeah.
of something like that occurring to me, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch this. This is really upsetting.
I was cringing a lot during that sequence. At some point, he breaks free, which, ouch. Ernest now looks like the Joker. Moving on. No, just kidding.
Yeah, Chelsea smiled.
Just kidding, because when we next see Ernest, I don't even think he has the fish hook in his face, and it just
No.
To be fair,
There-
though, that
Forgot
sequence
to do the makeup for him.
that sequence does have one of my favorite shots, which is while he's being fish hooked, he's going across a bridge, and they cut to this wide shot, and then the camera just pans and reveals the villain Glencliff in the frame, the back of his head, and you can just track the back of his head slowly watching this go by. And then emotionless, Glencliff goes, "There he is," and he gets in his car and drives after.
Yeah, I remember that. I chuckled.
That kind of made me like. I don't think that was supposed to be fun. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be funny or not, but it did kind of make me laugh. Just like, oh, there he is, totally unfazed by that image.
Found him.
So I did kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
I would.
The cannon thing goes on for a while. He blows through MI6's blockade. Don't know why
That's
they
true.
decided to shoot at that RV. Bullets aren't.
Yeah, I don't know what that was planning, what they were going to accomplish with that, but damn it, they tried.
They are really testing our special relationship.
I mean, if you got the guns, you got to use them.
When in America, do as Americans do.
I was about to say how very American of the British.
I know. I was like, what are they hoping to accomplish? Oh, it's because they're in America now. They gotta Yeah.
I mean, MI6 does get to carry guns. They are a counterintelligence, anti-terrorist organization.
So I'm not sure where this ends. I know that
It ends in I believe they crash into the farm finally.
yeah, okay.
In which Ernest and Professor Mellon share some real sexual chemistry.
And corn,
Yen corn.
which was very confusing.
Yeah, what did they boil that corn? Because if not, that stuff's
they did.
hard, dude.
Yeah, they boiled it in a bucket, right?
In like a coffee can.
Yeah,
Oh, yum.
like a hobo coffee can
Yeah,
situation.
like all of a sudden they just had a hobo meal for no reason.
Well, I guess they can't leave the cannon, which is fair.
I love me the taste of some tetanus corn. But yeah, they have a squabble. Professor storms off, and
It's because no.
No.
It's because they well, what happens is they move the cannon again. Meanwhile, by the way, the wife
with the tractor.
The wife abandons the salesman and hitches a ride, and then kicks that driver out of the truck. So then they hitch a tractor, to the cannon. They escape the farmer, who Ernest thinks is just exercising, and let them borrow this, despite them not having a conversation
I
about
feel
it.
like that was just an excuse. He knew he
Literally
He
chasing
wants
him
about
with a pitchfork.
disassociative. That's some real Ernest moments of like, of course he's letting us borrow it, to which, like,
Oh, there's a cut right
Of
after
course
that
he's rooting
with
for
the
us. Why wouldn't he be?
with the pitchfork farmer
Yes.
running in his water boots. Where I think it's the MI6 guys. They say they found him. They got like a satellite image, and it cuts to
found
like
him.
a satellite. And I actually had to rewind and like double check. It cuts to a satellite in orbit. Nothing wrong
Which
with
is-
that. It's
I'm
over
90%.
Antarctica.
I'm also 90% sure it's stock footage, and I've seen it in another movie. So the tractor stops in front of a sign, a big gate with a sign that says "Stopped by," that says "Apple maggot infestation," and Ernest says "Stopped by apple maggots again," which leads me to believe that he probably caused that apple maggot infestation in a different adventure we didn't get to see.
Apple maggots are definitely a problem up in the mid.
Up in wherever we are, you know what? With Ernest
Yeah.
around, I believe he could cause it.
Oh, I remember why they squabble, because after they've come to the stop at that sign and the tractor's trashed and all that, there's no jewels in the cannon.
Because he fires it. He fires it at our villains, and that reveals there's nothing in the cannon.
Oh, except that giant cannonball, which after being fired with, I mean, first of all, impressive that the cannon was able to fire without exploding. That's interesting.
He did light it.
Yeah, he lit it. There was gunpowder and apparently a round in the chamber, and a giant, what I can only describe as a rusty bowling ball, rolls out of the cannon and hits the bad guy's car, causing minimal damage. Which, given that Ernest literally lifted...
It just causes it
Ernest
to
literally
fucking
lifted
do a
one of those out of
U-turn.
the ground. And I mean, that ball was... I mean, that would have weighed at least half a ton. That was a lot of steel, right?
I believe they say it's 500 pounds at one point.
Okay, well, either way, it hit that car like it weighed 50 pounds. Which,
Well, you know, that was an older
it
car,
barely
made of
even
real
tapped.
steel. It wasn't some of these aluminum, non-plastic.
That was an
nonsense.
American car.
That was American made. You know, that's
oh, yeah,
Detroit
he's like,
steel
oh,
right
but
there.
we can't fire at that nice car. And I'm like, that's not a nice car. Oh.
Well, the 90s were, you know.
It was a
Oh.
different time.
The movie showing its age to me. But you know, Ernest lifts one of those cannonballs out of the ground at that construction
Yes.
site earlier in the movie. So it's 500 pounds? What?
Well, as
All those years of being a janitor.
As Steve
Again,
said,
very
he's
strong.
a trickster god.
He's an undying trickster, God.
he is but the coyote. He is, but in human form.
I mean, he says it out loud. You know, he admits it. Like, he's just one or two differences away from being a cartoon character. He says that.
That's true.
That
Like,
stuck
it would
out.
not surprise me at all to find out that Ernest is actually Loki.
Yeah.
So Melon sees the cannon fire, and he thinks he was wrong now. But then somehow that it was Ernest's fault, which A, it's not, and B, check the many. And I wrote this note as the fight was happening. I was like, just check the many fucking boxes clearly in the shot that Ernest is obviously about to hit open accidentally, and then I stopped myself writing because that's literally what happened, and that's where the jewels fell out.
Yep.
Which brings us to
It's
our
like,
next
wow,
predicament.
look at all these containers on the actual cannon itself. Maybe I should open one. Nope.
Well, they were too busy like riding the cannon to search the
true.
cannon, I guess.
So first of all, he does that, right? And then gunpowder, because gunpowder looks like sand.
Well, I guess it would be sand, or it would be salt. It'd be something they're trying to store the jewels secretly in there, I assume.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
like
think they were
sapphires and
trying to
rubies don't
hide it.
corrode. Gold doesn't corrode. None of that stuff corrodes. So, what was the point of that?
I don't know.
Why not just literally hide it in gunpowder? Because honestly, that would have been anyway. Makes sense. We're not gonna go there. But yeah,
Because then you don't want them to accidentally dunk the gunpowder with the jewels into the cannon. I guess.
Ernest does the Ernest thing and puts the first thing he finds, or second thing he finds. First, he finds the holy hand grenade, or something that looks exactly like it.
It's literally called the orb.
Well, it looks like the holy hand grenade.
Yeah,
I know,
that was the
but
holy hand
That's
grenade
the joke.
of
It's the
Antioch.
scepter and the orb. And the crown.
I gotcha. Well, he puts the crown on, which leads us to our third major predicament, because now a crown's stuck on his head.
I did enjoy this montage, mostly because it's them trying to pry it off of a crowbar, lots of different shots, and then you cut to Glencliff again, but he's holding the orb and the scepter as if he is king and goes, screw this, let's just take him to the clinic.
Something happens with the wife right around now. I don't remember what. Oh, maybe she
the
runs
professor
into...
turns into Elvis.
Oh, he has his confidence
Professor
now.
shows up.
Yeah, he has his...
He turns into Elvis, makes out with his wife, steals her, or goes after Ernest. The wife's now smitten with him
Yep.
because he's not some nerd anymore who works at a college.
Yep.
I mean, he is.
I mean,
Nope. He's
he's probably back to
He-
acting like how he used to act when he, I don't know, met her or married her or something. I don't know.
Well, now he's Indiana Jones.
I don't believe that.
I mean, I don't have any other explanation, man. Like, their relationship is downright toxic. If you've watched the first 30 minutes of the film and paid any attention, like, is it?
Well, I mean, at least all the food
He-
she
he-
made was toxic. Jesus,
He's the only
was
one with the
that?
job. He has to work at this college. He's
Flubber.
not making a lot of money. She gets to buy herself a car, but
Yeah,
he doesn't
was-
have a car. Like, what upside down world is this?
How does he get to work?
Right?
Was this a pseudo flubber prequel?
Maybe his wife drops him off. I'd
And wouldn't he
imagine.
know about the car?
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. Like, unless you went and, like, I don't know, sold it.
I guess
traded
he's
it
walking
in.
to work.
Ugh. Which, I mean, then why is she going out and buying a car if, like, you know, her husband's literally walking to work at his job? Priorities, man. Priorities. Yeah, things aren't very good. And all of a sudden, things are
Sounds
just
like
fine.
something his beta ass would be doing.
Clearly there's a communication issue in that relationship.
Oh, yeah. Well, he gets his confidence back after they have a
We
little
all
argument
agree.
about whether or not it's Ernest's fault for there not being jewels.
How Melon got his groove
Cut
back.
to Ernest, who is tied to a very elaborate surgical table.
I would describe it as an alien autopsy X-Files table.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, there we go. I was like, I don't even know how to describe it because it's not like a standard table at all.
So basically they're going to try and saw again, not solving the problem of getting the crown off by sawing behind the part where it's stuck. They're going to saw his skull in two to get the crown off, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure staining the crown in cranial blood is going to devalue it somewhat.
I mean, they had already been smacking it with wrenches, so I can't imagine it would hurt its value anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. So Ernest, the saw breaks on Ernest's head because it's so hard.
The joke is that he's so hard-headed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
I got the joke when I saw it. They got one chuckle.
It honestly took me a second because I didn't think it could actually be that.
I figured it was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, wait, what? Oh, because he's hard-headed, and I just went with it. I'm like, I'm not gonna look at this any further. Like, clearly he is actually a god. No damage can come to Ernest.
Yeah. So then we cut to Melon arriving with, and he's confronted by a security guard who is surprisingly highly decorated.
I assumed he brought those from home.
Well, it's a joke because he's like, "Oh, you seem like you're very professional, or whatever," and he punches him out or whatever. But like, he has a jacket that rivals like General Idi Amin, like a dictator with all these like medals, and he's like the security guard. I'm like, wait, what is happening here?
General Noriega. I see
Yeah.
you got a job working security.
Pretty much. And so he makes his way up to the office. Cut to Ernest running into a corner and cowering before he's shot, which is, again, a weird move. So a fight
For a man that clearly can't die.
Yes, a fight ensues. The salesmen show up and vacuum the villain. Ernest and Glenncliff end up in the office together, and they begin a fight in which they are just destroying human remains and artifacts on each other. It was one of the more disturbing images ever committed to film, which of course is accompanied with Benny Hill style music.
I want to know where he got that elephant gun that was clearly from the fucking future.
I don't know, because I believe Ernest, or one of them, steps into a skinned out elephant foot. So then MI6 moves in. They take the crown back because, as they inform Ernest, technically you're the king now. And
monarchies.
And Ernest is like, I don't want to be the king. And then
I honestly was really hoping that was how the film would end.
And it was like
just with him being put to the throne.
And Ernest 6 is like a King Ralph scenario.
It would be interesting.
It
More
would be
interesting than what the next film actually is.
Well, you see, the interesting thing is, and maybe Brian, you got a different thing, but the guys who watched it on YouTube know exactly what the next film is, because just like at the end of Captain America: The First Avenger, where you get a trailer for the Avengers, this movie goes to credits, and you immediately get Ernest looking at you and telling you about his next film. Ernest Goes to School as a trailer.
Let me tell you where I stopped watching. It was right about the point where Ernest looked at me dead in the eye and scratched on the chalkboard. I said, that is it. Yep. I am done.
Yep.
Thank you for the time. Goodbye.
That made my fucking ears bleed.
So you stopped watching when he looked you in the eye and went, I see you, Corey. I see you.
And then...
Honestly, I kept watching for no other reason. I was like, this might be my favorite part in the whole movie. Because this is literally Ernest looking at you and going, yeah, you're my bitch now. I own you. I made you sit through all of this. And I'm going to tell you the next piece of shit you're going to sit through. And you know what? You're going to sit there and you're going to like it. You are mine. And then chalkboard scratch. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I am a sub.
Maybe I am Ernest's bitch. Come get me, slack-jawed daddy. Come get me hard. My favorite part of the movie was I watched it with subtitles. And the subtitles, I hope, were not provided by the studio. I think YouTube was trying to do their own subtitle track.
I was watching the same thing.
So did you also notice that Ernest in subtitles is not referred to as Ernest, but as Mr. Bill?
I don't think it was doing that on mine.
It did it occasionally, because what it did is if he was off camera and talking, it would give you the name of his character, whatever he said, if he wasn't on camera, which is a standard thing in subtitles to make it clear who's talking if they're off camera talking, like in a reverse shot. And it would say Mr. Bill, because they assumed the title character was Mr. Bill, because for the first 10 minutes, it's Mr. Bill. If Ernest spoke off camera, it said Mr. Bill, whatever he said, which made me believe that Ernest is somehow also Mr. Bill.
That would make a lot of sense.
That was my favorite part of the movie, because it was a whole new meta layer of story that I became fascinated with.
Those, like, what do they call them? What's the term for it? The closed captions that they automatically do for YouTube. They're mostly terrible.
Yeah. My guess is that they're doing something
Their
different
dictation.
here.
Yeah, well, no, I believe they're just trying to transcribe based on dictation.
Yeah.
What it's hearing.
So they're
I've seen
guessing
so many
that
videos.
he's Mr. Bill.
I've seen so many videos where it works really well, and I've seen a lot of videos where it's just not at all what they're saying.
So we've finished the theatrical leg of our Ernest tour. It sounds like
sure?
it sounds like that if I ask us to press forward, I, like many a captain, will be mutinied and thrown off the ship.
Yeah, there's
I don't
no
know.
more...
I don't know. I might be able to sit through Goes to School.
No.
If for no other reason than I just imagine it's just a poor man's Billy Madison.
My thought process was there were 4 left and that we would each take one and report back. But I think Brian just won't do it.
That I can't believe this one was in theaters.
I mean, to be fair, they weren't ever again.
Yeah, this movie
I can see why.
bombed. It bombed. Budget $5.5 million. Total gross.
Wait, how?
Where did they spend the
Don't
money?
ask
Like,
me.
mostly on
I'm
the
not their
canon.
accountant, but they only made $1.5 million.
That's not good. No.
This movie was a fucking slog.
All right, let's end this. Well, first of all, before we say goodbye, since we're probably not going to do more Ernest.
You think so?
Anybody? So what?
I mean, we might.
We might.
I'd
Brian,
rather not. I don't know. I guess maybe it's because during this quarantine, I've had this strange addiction, thank you, David, to collecting fucking good movies.
Oh yeah,
And,
that's
uh,
true.
Oh, David,
Basically,
you broke
spend
Brian.
So
This is all
You
your
I've been-
fault.
spend
I've
your
been
life watching
watching-
the Criterion
So-
collection, and
so
now I'm
I've
like,
been watching
Ernest.
these fucking classic films
Ernest? No.
and just
I don't
enjoying
think so.
quality cinema, and now I'm watching this fucking guy rolling down this cannon. God damn it.
You texted me recently. You was like, "Hey, I picked up Come and See from the Criterion collection." That's great. We have 4 more Ernest movies to watch.
See, I kind of like this better now that you've become somewhat of a movie snob, forcing you to get down in the gutter with the rest of us.
Just the idea of you watching Come and See, which I don't know if you've watched it yet, but it looked
Not
just the idea
yet.
of you watching that and then having to watch like the same night an Ernest movie and just sitting there being like, this doesn't speak to the human condition at all. So real quick, let's just in case, and we can revisit this later. Let's rank the Ernest movies.
Okay. Well,
We don't have to collectively agree, but Corey, you have the 5 Ernest movies. What's your favorite Ernest movie?
probably Camp. It's the closest thing to a normal movie, I'd say. It's a little cheesy, but nothing about it.
It's the most like a real film.
Right. And then I feel like, honestly, it's a slope. Like, second one might be a little better, maybe, but
Saves Christmas.
yeah, I mean, but it's also a Christmas movie, and I don't know. That's minus 2 points right off the bat for me. It's not a fair or logical scale.
You wished Ernest hadn't saved Christmas.
I wish we never had Christmas be a central theme. If it's Christmas, man, just that's a thing that's going on in the background, you know.
You'd wish he saved
I just
Kwanzaa,
hope.
which, by the way,
He
Ernest
just
does go to
Santa
Africa.
had shown up in July.
Are we gonna go to Africa with Ernest? I feel like that's
You can.
I don't.
Well, like I said,
don't know,
take
man.
we'll take this. We'll take this off air. But I've already said we all should each do one of the videos, and I will do Ernest Goes to Africa. I will fall on that sword.
I mean, I'll do Goes to School. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, what's that leave me with then?
Slam Dunk Ernest or Ernest in the Army?
Ernest in the Army.
Hey Brian,
Nope.
want to watch Slam Dunk?
Nope.
Which one do you want to watch?
None of them?
Anyway, which is your least favorite?
You
Corey?
gotta pick one.
Let's hold this for a second. Corey, least favorite Ernest film?
The one we just watched.
No shit, Steve.
Honestly, I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I actually think that Ernest Saves Christmas may actually be the best one, despite the fact that it's a Christmas film, because at least there's some level of storytelling there. So I think that would probably be the my favorite, and I think actually my least favorite is Scared Stupid. I just can't stand that film.
Brian.
Ernest Saves Christmas is pretty up there for me, but I liked a lot of Ernest Goes to Prison.
Goes to jail.
Goes to jail.
He
Same
didn't
thing.
make it to Big Boy Prison.
Even though you are accurate in that he went to a prison.
Yeah, like that's why I call it that, because like he's
You are
in a
correct.
prison
He
with
was in
these-
prison. The title is wrong.
I don't know. I liked the take on prison and the weird pink suits and it's a very interesting prison.
Made you think of Punisher Warzone.
Yeah. Least favorite was clearly Rides Again. That was a huge waste of time.
This is all a waste of time. It's just a matter of
Oh, yeah.
degrees.
I appreciated how bad it was, honestly.
I struggled to finish it.
So, oof.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, what's it gonna be, David? What's your ranking?
Scared Stupid's the worst one for me. I can tell you that right now. I fucking hated it. I just couldn't. I think the way Brian
Yep.
feels about this one, I feel about Scared Stupid.
Agreed.
Just crawled
At
my
least
way
that-
through it.
At least that had somewhat, decent effects and makeup.
I guess.
I really
it just,
liked
I'm
the trolls.
sorry it did.
It felt too long. It felt like the longest for me. Could not stand the kid sidekicks. I just really there was didn't like it. I thought I was gonna say this one as my favorite one, but as people have talked about Saves Christmas, I do think I enjoyed Saves Christmas more than this one. I
Wait,
know
you
it's
were gonna
not
say
cute.
Rides Again was your favorite?
Yeah, I
What
think it was.
the fuck?
I know. I think there was something about just the commitment to the canon of it, like we're just gonna ride this canon for half of it. But honestly, I think it Saves Christmas
It's a good movie.
because
I
Goes to
think out
Jail.
of-
Here's the problem with Goes to Jail. Every time
Yeah.
we're in the jail, I'm good. But when we go to his Pee Wee Herman house or we hang out with the sidekicks who are the security, I do not care about that movie. Like half
Yeah.
of Jail, I do not like.
I liked his superpowers.
But the stuff that is in there to like is really good. Is like, well, good in the scale of Ernest. And Camp, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Again, in the scale
Perfectly
of Ernest.
cromulent.
This may be the end of the Ernest Odyssey. Much like the Odyssey. When he gets home, is that really the end? I mean, yes. So in a way, this is not like the Odyssey. You'll find out based on what's next in the feed if we continue this.
So, congratulations, listener. You might actually know more about what we're doing before we do.
Congratulations, you've broken us.
Are we going back to Nick Cage so we can watch Jiu-Jitsu?
I have thought about doing a recap. Well, we're going to talk about this later. Okay, we'll talk about this in a second. All right, anyway. That was Ernest. He wrote again.
He wrote a canon.
For the last time. Maybe.
I've been David.
I've been Corey.
I've been Steve.
And I've been Brian.
I'll be a little happier.
Yeah, I was about to say, you sound so despondent.
Nope, not happy at all about this.
As far as you know, Ernest is over. Be happy, sir.
In that case, I've been Brian.
You've been listening to Cattywampus. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at CattyWampusPod. Email us at cattywampuspodcast@gmail.com. Music by Tilly.